Hello and welcome to the TLC Designs YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted here on YouTube, and today I am crafting with the Springtime Cardmaking Suite by TLC Designs. And here are all the fabulous goodies you get. There is a new double dial Garden Delight die set, which works with your double dial interactive dies. There are two stamp sets. There's the Slimline paper pad called Woodland Watercolor, a stencil called Happy Bloom Day and Clouds. You get 4 card bases, 4 card panels, twine, embellishments, sprinkles, and all within a 3-ring binder pouch. So I am going to start off here by doing a little bit of ink blending. So I've pulled out some of my Distress Oxide inks, and I'm going for a nice, bright, sunny day. And on the bottom, will be creating just a patch of grass here. And I like to use a couple of different colors, one a little bit darker, one a little bit lighter. With the grass, I'm going in with an even darker color and being sure to kind of swipe upwards to make it almost appear like blades of grass. So just very loose. This panel is slightly larger than USA 2 in size, and that is so that I can take the second largest die in the Garden Delight die set and die cut out this panel, which is fabulous. So look at that sort of heart lacy detail going all the way around the border. And you might be wondering, why is there a corner missing from this? And that is by design so that this can work with your double dial interactive die set. What's new to the shop is Tammy Louise has actually separated out the double dial mechanism. You see it on the bottom portion of my magnetic sheet here. And you're going to have even more freedom and flexibility with this die set now, because there are 2 slot dies that will allow you even more freedom and flexibility for what kind of movement you want to create on your card. So you see they actually mirror each other, where you can have, for example, in the configuration I'm using now, along that arch, something's going to move sort of from the right to the left, from the bottom going up. And if you used the mirror version of that, which is on my magnetic sheet there, everything would be flipped. And so along that arch, something would move, from the left and move towards the right. So it's really very cool that Tammy Louise has done this, because now you have a lot of freedom and flexibility for controlling where and how things move on your card by having both of those options. And then on top of that, what you'll notice with this release, outside of the Cardmaking Suite, is more frame dies that are designed to work with your double dial mechanism, but themed in different ways. So I am today working with the Garden Delight, but there's also a Boutique Blvd that is releasing this March also. And now you can get the double dial mechanism on its own. So you have that if you don't already have the previous iteration of it. And I do love the evolution of the double dial mechanism. So Tammy Louise is really always looking to kind of improve her dies, and I love that she is taking an old favorite and making it even better. So I have also die cut a couple of different dies out of the Garden Delight. You can see how much metal Tammy Louise has managed to fit into this die set. There's really every sort of nook and cranny is jam-packed with lots of details that you can add. I've pulled out some of the larger elements just so that I can give you a taste of the scenes that you can be building. So here we have this tree, which I die cut out of white, and I'm just going to color it in with my alcohol markers. And there are branches and leaves on the tree. So you can leave it at this, which is what I'll be doing, and the tree is fairly bare. Or you can optionally use all of the little floral dies. And I love that we get so many different little flower dies, and that way you can just kind of stack them all up and run them through the one time and get a lot of flowers just in that one pass. And there are flowers, there are also individual petals for some tulips that you can also have at the base of your tree if you wanted. And so there's a lot of different options there. So what I've done here is I kept the pieces that fell out of the double dial mechanism because those match up perfectly with my inky panel, and that way you don't see the white card base. And so now I did lose a little bit of footage as I was putting this together, but I did already attach my dial mechanism to this panel. And you'll need to do that with brads. So I'm using small brads. These are mini brads. They're fairly small in diameter, but also flat. The heads of them are relatively flat. To attach the dial to your panel, there is a hole that the die puts into the center of the dial, that large circular portion, and you just want to put a brad through the hole that the panel, the slot die actually puts into your panel when you die cut the two slots. And now I've attached to the end of the dial that arm that extends from the circle that will actually govern the movement of that arc. So the second brad that I have goes through one circular piece from the top side, then the arm of the dial, then a second circular piece. And all of those circular pieces you will get with your double dial mechanism. So here I'm rotating just to make sure everything moves smoothly. If you are not accustomed to using brads on a paper project, there is a handy dandy die that will cut out a tool. It's actually labeled tool. Die cut that twice, glue those two layers together, and that actually serves as a great spacer because the key to having everything operate smoothly is to leave enough space, not tighten your brad overly tight. So here I'm going to do that again. I've got one circle. I actually punched out my own 3/4 of an inch circle just to have more space to work with. Then the piece on the back here is an extra arm. You have a die in the double dial mechanism that has two holes, one on either end, and you attach that arm to the middle hole of your dial. That arm on the opposite end governs the movement of that straight slot that goes up and down. And I'll do the exact same thing where I'll put my mini brad through one circle, in this case a 3/4 inch disc, through the arm that is attached to the dial, and then through another small circular disc, which I use the dies in the double dial mechanism. and that gives me this movement where the circular dial, as you rotate it, will move both arms. Now, I'm going to take all of that apart. Why? Because I realized that some of this arm actually is going to be visible as it moves. So I just took a moment to ink it in a little bit of blue, just so that as you are moving it, you don't see that stark white. And so I'm going to do all of that again. I'm going to put my mini brad through a circular disc on the front. It goes through the arm in the back, through another circular disc, and then I close it off, but I don't pinch it down too tightly in order to allow it to move. And just for some extra movement, I brushed everything really well with an anti-static powder. Really, I'm using baby powder, but you can use any anti-static powder, cornstarch, baby powder, or the same thing that you would use before you do heat embossing. And that just helps to kind of smooth out the slots. It helps if there's anything sticky at all, it helps to dry all of that out and makes everything just run a little bit more smoothly. So I have glued down my tree. I noticed a couple spots where there was still white cardstock showing, so I touched that up a little bit. And now I can actually attach my panel to my card base. Now, when you do this, you want to use some foam so that the mechanism on the back, while it's still relatively flat, because all of the flat ends of our brads are on the back here, but it does help to give it a little bit of room to move. So I like to use a nice thick foam, and you just want to make certain that when you attach your foam that you don't put your foam anywhere that the moving pieces will run into, because otherwise you might restrict the movement of the mechanism. So just stick to areas where, and you can play with your dial to see where all of those arms move, and just make sure that your foam isn't going to intersect with any of that. Then I like to use some 3D glue gel, and this is why I like using the 3/4 inch disc on top, because I can put a generous amount of the 3D glue gel surrounding the brad. And I feel like that, especially since I am using these stamped images from the stamp set that comes included in this bundle, and they are large enough to cover that 3/4 inch disc. But having that larger area allows me more space, more surface area to attach my die cuts to. And then I added my fencing, partly because it does cover the brad that holds our dial, the orange dial that I have. It holds it to our card base. And also partly because it gives almost the illusion that the bunny is hopping over the fence to get to the carrots. And on the inside, I stamped a little sentiment that comes from the sentiment stamp set that comes included in this bundle. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!